Good morning, everyone. I'm going to have to read a little quietly today. It's early, lazy Sunday morning, and it is a lazy Sunday here, I have to say. Uh, I didn't hear the little one too much last night, but I think everything's quiet. Everybody's trying to sleep, get a little extra sleep. Yes. A new baby in the house, right? What a wonderful thing, and exhausting. Yes, one wouldn't think, right? The little one, what do they need? Food, changing the diapers, at all times. Yes, how did I do it? I can't remember. I mean, I'm watching my daughter and going, oh, yeah, what did I do that time? Anyway, so that baby's going to have a wonderful life and a wonderful family. Yes, very blessed that little one is, as well as we all are with her. And there is another fire alarm beeping somewhere. Yeah, it's one after another has been going off, right? Yeah, beeping, and so there's one somewhere I was looking for it, couldn't find it, just like our has. Where is that beeping coming from? I said, "Oh, don't you know where your fire alarms are at?" Not always. Okay, so we are in. Let's just get started. I've got yard work to do today. We're going to plant some potatoes. My son-in-law wants to plant some potatoes. He really likes that idea. And so he was the one that went and dug them all out last year at the farm while I was here, also taking care of my grandchildren. And he just so enjoyed it. He says, "I want to grow potatoes." I said, "Okay." So we found actually some hidden away in a basket. I said, "Hey, look, they're sprouting. They're ready to go. Let's just use those." So that's what we're going to do today, as well as some other things. Okay. And had a big work day yesterday. Organizing some things. My daughter was really happy. We did it all together and had a great time. Then my granddaughter became a part of it as well. Then we found a big old uh, case of old photographs, right? Yes, where my daughter was really young, about uh, both of her daughters' ages, and uh, I had a great time looking through that, recalling some memories. This and that was great. Mm-mm-mm. A walk down memory lane. Ah, wonderful. Okay, Book of Nehemiah 13. And we're still a golden age. At the time, they were reading to the people from the book of Moses when they found this written in it: "No Ammonite or Moabite is to be admitted to the assembly of God, and this is for all time, since they did not come to meet the Israelites with bread and water, and even hired Balaam to oppose them by cursing them. But our God turned the curse into a blessing. Having heard the law, they excluded all foreigners from Israel." Hmm. Again, would God do that? Okay. I think the guidance here is quite clear. It gives the reason why to not include those people at this time. Because of the fragile state of the Israelite at the time of Moses, I think that God was just trying to protect them. Yes? All right? Yeah. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. Does that mean that they're going to be excluded for life, this snap? Are people always true when they come to you and say, "Oh, yes, I believe, I want to be a part of it," and then kind of get into your circle and then start creating havoc? as a parent, I have to say, even though I got along with some people just fine, I didn't want my children around them. And there were reasons for that. So was I just against them now? Were they my enemies? No. It's just that they're adults, freedom of will, freedom to choose. And some of what they did in their life, what their lifestyle was, I didn't want my children around. I knew I was strong enough to, okay, that's your thing. I'm not going to be a part of that. And I'll tell you why I don't want to be a part of that. That doesn't exclude them to be my friends. It's just, I'm not going to be a part of that. Right? But with my children, I knew that they couldn't be a part of that at all because, first of all, some things are just too hard to explain to them at an early age. And, as I said, I really, really, truly tried to protect my children against all kinds of things that I thought, well, it's out there. Eventually, they're going to have to learn to also live with all these things, but not until they are ready. And I would say that God felt the same way about the Israelites. Not until you're ready. Not until your foundation is strong enough that even if you come across other people's ideas of what things should be or what the Ten Commandments stand for example, you'll be strong enough to say, no. I know full well what the right thing is to do and what is wrong. And no one's going to convince me. Yes? Okay. So, the Israelites here, still fragile. Just as they came out of Egypt as slaves, they came just out of Babylon as slaves. Or servants, or definitely not kings and queens, right? So again, it just started up. And so here they read this and they come across that and gone, oh, okay, we can't, it's not that the foreigners are so bad or whatever, but we're not strong enough to be able to withstand. What if they bring in again? What? And we're still at such a young age, so we have such a small foundation of faith and belief. We're just learning again, right? Yes. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's how I see that. The second mission of Nehemiah. Earlier, Eliashib, the priest who was in charge of the rooms of the temple of our God, and who was close to Tobiah, and provided him with a large room where they previously used to store the meal offerings, in incense, utensils, tithes of corn, wine and oil, that is, the part of the Levites, singers, and gatekeepers, and the contributions for the priests. While all this was going on, I was away from Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon, I had gone to see the king. But after some time I asked the king for permission to leave, and returned to Jerusalem, where I learned about the crime which Eliashib had committed for Tobiah's benefit. There we go. By providing him with a room in the courts of the temple of God. I was extremely displeased and threw all Tobiah's household goods out of the room and into the street. I then gave orders for the room to be purified and had the utensils of the temple of God, the meal offerings, and the incense all replaced. Right there. This kind of goes with, right? No. Who are you moving into? Tobiah, as far as we know, is who? I think that was one of the people that was kind of iffy and reporting back to the king on what they all were doing, you see. And here, what did I say? You have people come say, hey, I want to be a part of this, so where are you going to put me? Eliashib may have done this all with the right heart to mind, but not realizing that, who the heck am I moving into the temple of God? Right? Nehemiah comes back and says, hey, we know we're ready for stuff like this. Besides, why would you move this guy in there? Right? That kind of doesn't make sense. I also learned that the Levites had not been receiving their allocations, as a result of which the Levites and singers who performed the liturgy had all withdrawn to their farms. See? Ooh. I then reprimanded the officials. Why is the temple of God deserted? I asked, and I collected them together again and brought them back to their posts. And all Judah then delivered the tithe of corn, wine, and oil to the storehouses. As supervisors of the storehouses, I appointed Shelemiah the priest, Zadok the scribe, Pedaiah, one of the Levites, and as their assistant Hanan, son of Sakur, son of Mattaniah. Since they were considered reliable people, their duty was to make the distributions to their kinsmen. The leader leaves. That's what Nehemiah was. And the thing is, if this all had to do with the temple of God, where's Ezra? Was this already past Ezra's time? I thought it was all kind of at the same time. Ezra was too old now, and okay. So Nehemiah takes that over as well. Has to. Interesting, right? Okay, we're not quite getting what's going on here all, but definitely can hear. Leader leaves. Foundation's already going to where? Hell. Comes back. Seems like it takes a short amount of time. Okay, you. Okay, let's get this back on track. What's going to happen when Nehemiah passes away? Remember me for this, my God, and do not blot out the good deeds which I have done for the temple of my God and its observances. So in the way that I'm getting to know Nehemiah now, there's this, hey, that should save me my place in heaven. Is that what he's saying? I think what he's pleading with God, look, please send someone else that I can really teach this, because obviously they can't do it without a leader. Is it really that difficult? Yes, it is. I have seen that myself last year when I was here and I had a big garden going at the farm. No one took care of it. Even let vegetables rot in the ground. So they're what? Okay, just saying. It would not have taken that much time to take care of that garden. At least a little, yes. And, of course, due to the fact that things were just let go, there were other problems then suddenly, with snakes, for example, poisonous snakes, yes, with other vermin that now could hide in our garden, yes, just saying. And, of course, if one doesn't take a little care of the weeds, this, that, you're also inviting all kinds of pests back into the garden. Yes? Yeah. You see, it's kind of similar. If you apply it now to people, right? If you don't, keep following a design structure, right? Then things get out of hand. Then you're inviting in all kinds of other things that, hey, wait a minute, no. Don't want that. So, just saying. Oh, guess what? 13 is the last one. My, oh my. At the same time, so this time I took the gardens with me. At the same time, I saw people, and they can do whatever they want. Yes? Okay. Well, sometimes that's the other thing, too. I had one way of having my garden, and now that I'm not there, probably won't be there for quite some time, I I fixed it so that they can have it in there. If they just want lawn, they can do that, right? Though I already heard that, yes, they did plant some things, right? Yes, small, so it fits their schedule and all that. So we'll see, right? Yes. So giving responsibility, right? Yes, letting people do their own thing and learn through doing it in their own way, right? Yes. Yes, sometimes people need encouragement that way. At the same time, I saw people in Judah treading the winepress, bringing in sacks of grain and loading donkeys on the Sabbath. Oh, they were also bringing wine, grapes, figs, and every kind of merchandise into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. So I forbade them to sell the food. Tyrians living there were bringing in fish and every kind of merchandise, which they were selling to the Judeans on the Sabbath in Jerusalem itself. So I also reprimanded the leading men of Judah, saying to them, "What a wicked way to behave, profaning the Sabbath day. Was this not exactly what your ancestors did, with the result that our God brought all this misery down on us and on this city? And now you are adding to the wrath hanging over Israel by profaning the Sabbath yourself." So when the gates of Jerusalem were getting dark at the approach of the Sabbath, I gave orders for the doors to be shut and directed that they were not to be opened again until the Sabbath was over. I stationed some of my attendants at the gates to make sure that no merchandise was brought in on the Sabbath day. So the traders and dealers in goods of all kinds spent the night outside Jerusalem once or twice, until I reprimanded them. I said to them, "Why are you spending the night in front of the wall? Do it again, and I shall use force on you." After this they did not come on the Sabbath. I then ordered the Levites to purify themselves and act as guards at the gates, so that the Sabbath day might be kept holy. So the people from the outside, of course, they don't know the rules, right? But the people of Jerusalem do. Again, Nehemiah had no choice but to exclude, right, the people that were not part of Israel, of Judah, from the Sabbath day. Why? And it tells us again on how weak the Israelites or the Judeans were when it came to, okay, there's one day we can't trade, can't buy, can't sell, can't be done. Yeah? Can't be done today either. Cannot even be done on major holidays anymore either. We have a problem too. Thousands and thousands of years later, we still can't take one day. And I've explained that before. For some people, it may be a day during the week where they just, due to the fact on what else all is going on. But as far as stores having to be open so you can go and buy things, there's no need for that. If one thinks a little ahead and makes sure that you have what you really need, when you for one day can't go to the store. One. Can't be done, right? Yes? So then what would one do? Well, it's up to the people to decide, especially if you're a church-going person who goes to church on Sunday. Don't go to the restaurants afterwards. Don't go to the store. Don't even go and get gas for your car. Make sure you're all ready on Saturday to go to church and then go back home or for a walk somewhere. Yes? But keep the Sabbath holy. And for others who have to work on Sunday because they work as a nurse or a doctor, yes, emergency personnel, police, yes, sadly you need police on the Sabbath too. Firefighters, take one day of the week and make that and your families, if possible, Sabbath. If your family is not part of that schedule, then you make sure that your family has the Sabbath on Sunday, and you take another day that's your Sabbath. And then you're, yes, that's all right. I can't see how God would disapprove of that. Right? It's, in a way, spiritual conditioning, spiritual exercise to have the strength to say, no, I don't need to. Why would I need to go out today to do anything? Except for doing what? Kind of reflect, spend time with the family, play with the children, enjoy an outing where you don't go to a restaurant or a store, where you just go for an outing That doesn't require opening your purse or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. Just saying. So, yeah. And it seems like here comes Nehemiah and says, guys, come on now. Seriously? I'm gone for a short amount of time. And the temple, the temple, the Sabbath day. We just read all this to everyone. Did the Levites and the priests communicate all this properly? Sounds like not, because they were all a part of it. Yet, after he did that, and then even told the ones that were kind of waiting, don't do that on the Sabbath day here either. Come back tomorrow when the doors really are open. Otherwise, I will use force against you. And they stopped doing it. Kind of tells me, and the people in Jerusalem didn't say anything. Doesn't sound like he had any opposition, so they knew what they were doing. Which then also tells us that the Israelites are still, hadn't accepted God. The other thing too, again, where Nehemiah says, haven't we learned our lesson yet? What's going to happen if we do that, if we don't follow God's guidance? He's going to do this and this again to us, which is not true. Who is doing who to what? Does God have anything to do with that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you're not willing to listen to someone else on how to build a nest, and you're going to do it yourself for the first time and not take the guidance from someone else, then your nest's probably not going to turn out well, and all kinds of things will happen with that nest. Just saying. And whose fault is that? Would anyone else out there have anything to do with the structure of that weak nest that's not built properly to hold what it needs to hold? Does God have anything to do with that? No. It has people's free will and freedom to choose has to do with that. So why pull God into it again? So Nehemiah, in a way, okay, using God to threaten the people is maybe that part of the problem? The constant threats? Who would want to follow someone that you constantly have to be afraid of? Right? So that's another thing. People have to be willing, find that joy and enjoyment to follow something that's so good, makes so much sense, freely, voluntarily, right? Yes. All right. Today the same thing. Remember this also to my credit. Have pity on me in the greatness of your faithful love. There you go. He's pleading with him again. At that time, too, I saw Jews who had married wives from Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab. As regards their children, half of them spoke the language of Ashdod or the language of one of the other peoples, but could no longer speak the language of Judah. I reprimanded them, I cursed them, I struck several of them and tore out their hair, and adjured them by God. You are not to give your daughters in marriage to their sons, or let their daughters marry your sons, or marry them yourselves. Was it not because of women like these that Solomon, king of Israel, sinned? Although among many nations there was no king like him, and he was loved by his God, and God made him king of all Israel, even then foreign women led him into sinning. Really? Wow. Were you obedient when you committed this very grave crime, breaking faith before God by marrying foreign wives? One of the sons of Jehoiada, son of Eliashib, the high priest, was a son-in-law of Sanballat the Horonite. I drove him from my presence. Remember them, my God, for having defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priests and Levites. And so I purged them of everything foreign. I drew up regulations for the priests and Levites, defining each man's duty, as well as for the deliveries of wood at the proper times and for the first fruits. Remember this, my God, to my credit. That's the end of Nehemiah. So that last part, I'll leave that up to people to think about that. All I can say is, if a man wants to be the head of the household, I don't know how weak these Israelite men were to be uh, taken in, nagged by, I don't know, I have no idea. All I hear is about the guys here. You rarely hear anything about a woman saying anything, right? Yes? On how the men are just beholden to what exactly when it comes to women. They were able to have so many of them. Surely they weren't deprived of, right, their physical needs. And yet, it sounds like that Nehemiah is very unhappy with the weakness that some of the Israelite men, um, and it seems like enough of them because it was so noticeable. Uh, the weakness, so weak. So just we have a word in Swiss. I can't really say that, but you know what men are when they're so weak and can't put their foot down, to be able to, I don't know, marry someone they love from another tribe. And Nehemiah is so worried that these women are going to bring what with them? Their idols, this and that. So, again, how is Nehemiah being unreasonable? No, he's not. Because if the children, instead of learning the father's language, which it seems to be more that men went looking for other women rather than the other way around, if the children don't even speak the language of the father, then there is a problem. Surely there is a problem, right? Yeah. So, I don't know. But does that speak against the women or even the other tribes? Again, I have to say, whoa, how weak were these Israelite men that Nehemiah had to admonish them like that. And the proof is there if the children don't even speak the father's native language. Just saying. Otherwise, I don't have much to say. It sounds like to me that this last part was really, truly all about we can't be distracted by anything else from the outside if we want to make sure that we become physically, spiritually stronger under the guidance of our Heavenly Parent and no one else. Nehemiah understood that. And I guess in a way he didn't have any other way except for threatening the people with the wrath of God. Though he calls him the all-loving, yes, must be difficult when you're kind of standing on your own. It seems like Nehemiah really was. Oh my gosh! Right? Yes? Yeah. All right. Well, so there it is. One could say so much more to it all. What a difficult time. Yes, I understand. Was a very difficult time for the Israelites. Why do we have to be so different from everyone else? Why do we have to fear God all the time just because? Well, they didn't like being slaves in Egypt. They didn't like being slaves in Babylon, did they? Yet when they were free, they kind of always set themselves up to become what again? Yes. There you go. That's all I have to share today. I hear a baby crying, so I need to get up. Got work to do. Then today I'm going back over to my other daughter's home, and get ready again for a week with the children. Yes, I think we're going to do the Ninja Turtle thing. This I asked them what they wanted to do. So we're going to make some turtle shells out of cardboard and some masks with cloth, and we're going to defend the neighborhood in a peaceful manner. Teach those children to survey and be a presence strong enough where you don't need to use violence. Yes? Because everybody will run. You'll find out. Probably will be reported or something. I think the neighborhood people know us well enough by now. Yes. Mm-hmm. Here comes that woman with the noisy kids. But they're well behaved, so. Yes. Spread that good energy. It makes a difference, I'm telling you. All right, that's all I have to share this morning. May Heavenly Parent bless you, protect you, and embrace you with love. And I will talk to you all tomorrow.